Hello and welcome to the Longwood Women's Basketball Coaches Corner with head coach Bill Reinson. I'm your host, Scott Bacon. We appreciate you joining us. And Coach, thanks again for taking the time.
I always enjoy it, Scott.
Well, let's talk about the games last week. Since we last spoke, there's been a pair of games. Wanted to mention, though, before the games got underway, you started 3-0 in conference play, and one of the things you mentioned was trying to guard against overconfidence. Was there a specific strategy, or what did you do to make sure that the team didn't get too high?
Well, we talked about it a lot. The seniors on the team understood what they've gone through the last couple of years, and they were very guarded against it. There were a couple practices where we had to stop things, where it got a little bit sloppy, and just say, you know, we have to remember to refocus and do the things that got us here.
Well, you played Presbyterian and Charleston Southern, both on the road as part of one road trip. Talk about that Presbyterian game. You're up 3 with 6 minutes to go in that contest. You ultimately fell 71-62. How would you assess the team's performance?
Well, I'd have to say, for being on the road in a conference game against first place team, we've played fairly well. We didn't play our best. If we had, we probably would have ended up winning the game. But still, not playing our best and struggling a little bit, they made big shots down the end of near the end of the game. They made 3 or 4 shots that they had to make in order to stay in the game and in order to win the game. And all the credit goes out to Presbyterian in that one.
2 unexpectedly undefeated teams in the early going of the Big South. Were the girls fired up and ready to go?
Yeah, I believe they were. I think that might have been a problem in the first half. They might have been a little bit too excited. But I think they're going to have to start expecting that now. You know, as long as we keep winning games, hopefully. And, you know, we play against top-flight teams like we have coming up on the schedule. It's going to be one of those situations where they're going to have to be prepared every day.
Stayed on the road and then bounced back with a win over Charleston Southern. After suffering that first conference loss, 62-57 was the final score. Were you pleased with the response from the team?
Absolutely, absolutely. Any road win is a good win, especially coming off one that's a little bit heartbreaking. You know, we could have had sole possession of first place. It didn't happen, and it could have been, Coach Williams calls it trap games, going down there, you know, against a team that hasn't won a game and, you know, playing below your level. But we came out and struggled a little bit in the first half. Second half, we picked it up and won pretty comfortably at the end.
We talked last week about Chelsea Coward a bit, hitting the 1,000-point mark, the first at the Division I level. 23 points and 12 rebounds in that game, her 7th double-double of the season. She's been in double digits every game but one this year. What's been the biggest difference with her this season as opposed to previously in her career?
You know, I don't think I can pinpoint one thing. She's always been a very mature individual. She's always taken practices seriously, games seriously. Maybe it's just a little bit more confidence because now she understands that she's in charge of the team. She's a team captain. A lot more responsibility falls to her. And she's just been so consistent that, you know, at times you take her for granted.
7-9 now on the season thus far, 4-1 in Big South Conference play, sort of at the halfway mark essentially for the season. What's a biggest surprise for you this season? Something maybe at the start of the year you didn't expect that now has been a pleasant surprise for you this season?
I think absolutely our play on the road. Just the way we've competed on the road. We've been in nearly every game. We haven't won them all. Only had one hiccup against North Carolina State where we really got just run out of the building. But in the past we had lost big on the road consistently, and this year we're being much more competitive. And I think that's the biggest surprise to me, just how in 1 year they've decided that they're no longer going to be, you know, a patsy on the road. They're going to go in there and they're going to compete with teams.
Now, at the start of the year, you have your idea of how the season goes. Not everything always goes your way. There was a pleasant surprise. How about an aspect of the team that hasn't quite gotten to the point where you hoped it would be?
I wouldn't be able to pinpoint one. Some of the freshmen, I guess the freshmen have been up and down. We've had some solid play from most of the freshmen. Other freshmen have been up and down. Khalil Ali played very well early. Then she kind of backtracked a little bit. Now she's coming back into the forefront. I think in order to be competitive in a 3 or 4 game tournament at the end of the year, our freshmen are going to have to play better and play more. And so we're still hopeful. I don't know that I'm disappointed with them. They just haven't, a couple of them advanced as quickly as we'd hoped, but I think there's hope for them.
Now back at home for 2 more games at Willett Hall where you're undefeated so far, 2-0 in Big South Conference play. Thursday versus Campbell, Saturday versus Coastal Carolina. Let's start with the Fighting Camels from Bowie's Creek. Your thoughts on Campbell coming in?
Campbell is in a tie with us for first place, along with, it seems like, 12 other teams, but they're very good. They play a lot like us. They press, they play a small lineup. They like to run up and down the floor. It should be a very exciting game. Again, hopefully we'll be able to control the tempo the way we want it. Because a lot of times we'll play to other teams' tempos, we'll slow it down when they're slowing down, or we'll play just a little bit faster than we want to play. But as long as our point guards can control the tempo, I think we'll be okay.
Now, is that just a matter of you saying what you just said to convey that message to the team? Is there something you specifically do to try and help your team set the tempo?
We're constantly telling them to push the ball. At times it's easier than others. Of course, when we get turnovers or when they miss, we're off in transition. What we have to continue to work on is after they score the ball, we still have to get it out and run it down the floor. They seem to think that the other team was never going to score on them. So when they do score, they're kind of shocked. They stand around a little bit. But we've been working with them on getting the ball out and just running it right back at them.
And on Saturday, we'll be taking on a Coastal Carolina team, a 2 o'clock start for that afternoon contest. Scouting report, if you will, on the Chanticleers.
They haven't played very well on the road. That's been their one Achilles heel. It was that way last year also, but they're very talented. They can score the ball. Should be 2 very exciting games in Willett Hall because both of those teams like to get up and down.
Now, you're at this point of the season, too, where we just mentioned the halfway point. Do you try and do things to avoid, we talked about getting too high or too low, but complacency, getting into the heart of conference play, somewhere where this team hasn't been before? Are there things you do to try and keep the consistency with the team atmosphere?
I think we're a pretty mature group, quite honestly. I think they come to play most every day. They come to practice most every day, and we haven't had to deal with that a lot. Like I said, every once or twice in practice we'll have to stop and say we're being sloppy. But for the most part, they're a competitive bunch. They enjoy playing together, and we haven't had to have those type of talks at all.
You discussed practice a bit there. Give us a little bit more insight to how, the inside version of how a practice runs, the dynamic with you and your coaches, and how you would describe the way that you run practice.
Well, right now during conference is a lot different than when we did it earlier. Now we have a set schedule. So Monday we came in, we took Sunday off. Yesterday we came in and we ran a lot of our stuff, got them up and down, a lot of transition. We worked a little bit against the zone. And then the players who played the most minutes over the weekend, we kind of set them aside and let them get some shots up. And we've been continuing to work with the freshmen. That's one thing that we're trying to improve. When I was growing up, I always learned more about basketball playing in the gym with the PE teachers at lunch. And so what we're doing is we're having our coaches, who are very good college basketball players, play 4-on-4, 3-on-3 with our freshmen, just so they can learn the nuances of the game, how to set screens, how to work their way off of screens, how to defend certain players and things of that nature. So that's what we did yesterday. And then today and tomorrow we'll get into Campbell and we'll focus on what they do and how we're going to stop it.
Who's getting the better of those battles with the coaches and the freshmen? Are they getting a lot of W's?
Is who getting a lot of W's?
The coaches playing with the freshmen?
No, the coaches win.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the coaches win. They're a competitive sort, which is good. But like I told the freshmen yesterday, I said, when you get to the point where you're angry that they beat you, then you'll be able to take the next step, because then you'll start competing a little bit more and not be intimidated.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks as always, and good luck this week.
Thank you very much.
Reminders that on Thursday, again, Campbell, a 7 o'clock start, Coastal Carolina at 2 o'clock. Make sure to make it out to Willett Hall, and if you can't, you can catch it all right here on Longwood Lancers TV on the Big South Network, presented by State Farm. We appreciate you joining us here on the Longwood Women's Basketball Coaches Corner with head coach Bill Reinson here on LongwoodLancers.com.